What's going on, guys? My name is Meek, and today I want to go ahead and give you guys a little compilation of some Fox games that I've played all within the last 2 weeks to try to keep the sample size small, but also indicative of what will happen in your games. So these aren't necessarily cherry-picked games that I've had. They're games that I've won, but nonetheless played within a short time span. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and look at some games. They all involve Fox. I specifically chose these ones because of the Fox timings that I was using, the Fox Micro, some of the tips and tricks that you can use to really improve your own Fox play. So, without further ado, let's get into it. And let's go ahead and start with a replay that's going to look very familiar. It's bringing in the deck that we used from the last video on how to contain your opponent with MGs and balloons and ferrets. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it out. But yep, we're sporting the same deck, but today we're going to be focusing on the utility of the Fox within this deck, whereas in the last video we were focusing more on the containment side of this deck. So I'll speed it up a little. There's no shenanigans going on in the beginning of this game. We both deep sea, putting down preventative warren before 8 farms. I'm following suit myself. And right now we're just scouting each other. It's a pretty low mill count. I mean 6, which is standard, but not excessive. Alright, slow it down. So I go ahead, and after opening into 3-score warrens, I try to get a forward mill so that I can start getting my defenses up, but I fail. Deep sea, able to deny it momentarily. But I go ahead and build it now. A little more confident that I can get it built in time. And after this preliminary scout, I didn't scout the tier 2 that he has building in the cams, but I did scout a lack of moles, which gave me the confidence to think that I can go ahead and set down some forward MGs. So you'll notice I originally put the MGs down where I could, but I want them a little bit more forward. And you're gonna see the theme of this game, one of the 2 themes was some defense creep, where I was able to sell some defense that's farther back, put it a little bit more forward in a more aggressive position, where it's going to have better utility and map control. And so that's what I went ahead and tried to do here. Deep sea. He sees the MG creep, so he's going to go ahead and try to stop it before it goes up, but it gets up successfully. Go ahead and sell the back one. And now, just like we were looking, this is pretty much the chain of events from the previous video. You put down the MGs, you successfully hold, you get down the balloon, and then next you would consider getting ferrets to kind of rain down terror on my opponent. But my opponent actually doing a really good job in this game, and this is what I wanted to focus on. At 3 minutes 15 seconds, I went ahead and put down the Fox. So my idea here isn't to finish the game with a forward MG assault, mainly because this is a fairly difficult position to be in. For one, these defenses are not close enough to do anything to his mill. Maybe certainly his expand I can poke at it, but not for the mill he already has up. I would have to creep it, and even then I can't exert any pressure on this mill. I can exert pressure on this mill, but not this one. So the containment method isn't as appealing here. So instead I'm gonna try to hold a wall, and again, he can go around it, but in the time it takes him to go around, I can inflict a lot of pain on his mill, and I'll know when he chooses to move out. So I'm gonna try to maintain this defense's kind of cutoff in the middle of the map. Get my fox up. And this is another very important thing. I didn't scout him, but I didn't feel like he was attacking me. I also was listening to game cues in this moment. I remember because I played yesterday, and I heard his commander walking away. So, given that information, I went ahead and tried to defense creep, where I sell my backwards defenses in place of more aggressive placement. So, we go ahead and successfully sell and rebuild while my opponent is getting an expand. Meanwhile, whole time, fox is building. But as long as I can live, this is really important, as long as I can, well, I'll let this pan out so you don't have to deal with the sound of the MGs. But as long as this fox gets out, it'll very likely be a killing blow. If you look at Deep Sea's composition, what he's elected to do thus far is go for squirrels and falcons. And this map terrain, it's very spacious, and it doesn't have a lot of destructive high ground. Yes, there are hills and valleys, but it's not the kind of high ground that my opponent would only have access to. We both have access to the high ground, so I can deliver a lot of fox poke and fox kiting, which is one of the reasons that I decided to go for the early fox, is because I thought that it had a lot of utility given the map landscape. So Deep Sea doing a job at burst firing, and this is a mistake I made. I accidentally sold my balloon on accident, and as a consequence, Deep Sea gonna get a good engage. My MGs almost all destroyed, but I managed to hold off in time for my second build to balloon, and I was pretty sure that I wasn't gonna be able to hold it. Like, if you look at the army graph, it's pretty low, and I just didn't feel like I was going to be able to hold it. So this did its job. It bought us time, and that's what we cared about. And it also stopped our opponent from going into some more late game builds, like maybe going for their own fox or going for some super eco. No, they spent their time trying to kill our forward kind of containment defenses. But as a result, and this is the most important lesson of this game, as a result of choosing to spend their time to destroy it, their unit composition is still squirrels and falcons. Something that could be really dangerous for our fox are chameleons or chameleon wolf. But our opponent didn't go into chameleon wolf because they were too busy trying to destroy our containment. So now I went ahead and sold a lot of my tier 1 so that I could build MGs in time to deal with Deep Sea coming into the game, because all I care about is that my fox survives. It's paid for, it's building. Now it just comes down to if I can live long enough. So I decided to sell all my tier 1 because all I care about is this fox making it out. Deep Sea, it takes time to gun down these MGs. Doing a great job at it, but now the balloon. I'm gonna go ahead and take out a falcon immediately. And the fox is out. And against a composition like this, these falcons are just mush against the extremely high damage fox. And Deep Sea, gonna throw in the tower right here because there's nothing left for him to do. Like, the fox is pretty much a win condition, and it just didn't have the kind of units to deal with it. So that is how we made the fox work. The timing got it out at about 3 minutes and 15 seconds after we got down the contain, thinking that If our opponent spends time dealing with the contain, by the time they've successfully dealt with it, we are in time to defend our fox getting out, and we can win with it. Let's go ahead and look at the fastest possible way that you can get a fox out. So in this game, we're playing, in my opinion, one of the best players to ever do it, Airlu. And he's playing, this is all current live from the current patch, the current championship patch being used in the 2025 TNT Championship. Not what's just live on the ranked queue. But Airlu, once again, spawning the squirrel, mole, falcon, cam, skunk, and wolf. And if you're in the TNT Championship, you're going to see a lot of decks that is exactly like this or very similar to it. So, taking a look at the map, this is a big map, right? Our mills are very far apart, almost maximally full apart, and it's also quite a ways to get to them. For one, there's water dividing us. Water slows down entry, right? So if my opponent wanted to avoid water, they could maybe go through. They could go through here, right? Because the water won't touch you. But if they choose to go through the faster route, you're gonna have to go through water. So I knew that there was going to be a really long time before they were gonna get to me. So I elected to go 7 farm fox. And the idea I had here was, in the time it takes, one, if they choose to go for a squirrel mole assault on me, I actually have squirrels and moles myself, and I was pretty confident that I could defend. If they go for tier 2 like a skunk, I'll just buy my own skunk, and by the time they get over here, I will at least have 1 skunk having popped. Now the reason I chose to go 7 farm fox instead of 8 farm fox is I wanted to reduce the time it took for the fox to get out. So yes, I'm gonna be at a food deficit, right? Because a slight food deficit, mind you, because I had less time that farms were active by 1 farm. But in exchange, I'm gonna get this fox out quicker. So, then I go ahead and auto queue the farm. So my squirrels aren't building, but that doesn't matter. Airlu, letting go for skunk squirrel, pretty much the standard opener, as well as the mill. And this is really important. One of the things that is going to be key to getting your foxes out is distracting your opponent, denying them scouts for as long as they can. So Airlu doesn't know about the fox, but I have moles, and so I can contest this mill by putting a very forward mole. So Airlu can't leave his base until he's confident that he can deal with the mole. So now that his tier 1 is out, he knows that he can deal with it. I go ahead and scout the tier 2, so I know what I'm up against. Airlu scouts the fox, but it's already halfway there. Warren is built. And so Airlu's gonna go for his only push available to him. If he doesn't kill me now, he won't kill me ever. Reason being is he can really only play off of 1 base, right? He can't defend these bases from my fox, and he certainly is not going to get to any of these. So he's not going to get a wolf or anything of the sorts out. So he's going to go for the immediate push. I only had time for squirrels and moles, but again, because this was such an early fox, he's not hitting me with the kitchen sink. Right? He's hitting me with 2 skunks, 6 squirrels, and a mole. Slowly climbing, but I'm just trying to delay, right? Like the skunk gas, it's taking out my forward picks. I don't care. I just needed the fox to survive. And now the fox is out at 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Airlu's composition, you know, it's not made to deal with the fox. And now we're gonna see. We'll just kind of go to work on the tier 1. And again, all made possible because the map was extremely far and aided a little bit by denying Airlu some scouting information. So now our fox is out. I'm trying to find ways to poke into his mill because it's not the easiest thing in the world. I have to actually walk onto this high ground to have vision. And so to show you what it looks like from my perspective, it's really hard actually to move forward on that expand. So I give it up, choose to defend here. Airlu going for another push. Army value equivalent, but only because of the handy dandy fox. And I try to only allow it to shoot once before going ahead and backing it up. Otherwise, Airlu might be able to get his units onto my fox. Part of the kiting strategy here is you get your fox in range of a hit, but then you already start moving your commander back, preemptively getting ready to retreat. So, right, one hit, retreat. And then sometimes I'm trying to hit the squirrels, but I'm only able to hit the commander. And I'm taking damage, you know, on the way out. Alright. And now here, we make a critical mistake, is I get overzealous with my commander placement, and I let my fox die. This is very, very, very bad. You shouldn't lose your fox in this scenario, but it's gonna happen. Your micro won't always be perfect, and I go ahead and lose the fox, but it did its damage and gave me the lead that I was hoping for. If you take a look at army graph, yeah, I took a huge hit, but I had a lot of money in the bank. We'll go ahead and speed this up because this is a fox video. So I go ahead and go for an expand. Airlu doing his best with the little tier 1 that he has. We're on equal economy, but now he's starving and he has to sell down to, or he will have to sell down to pay for his units. Meanwhile, I've managed to eke out some skunks, which against just pure squirrel or squirrel mole is going to do wonders. Airlu has to go home, prevent himself from starving. And then over here, we go ahead and take full advantage of this water by positioning our units over here. And remember, I am ahead in economy. I have 2 farms, so I'm content to just kind of sit, wait to see what Airlu's going to do. Airlu finally going to find my mill. Right? He's going to elect to take it out. I'm going to try to just kill any of his units that are reinforcing. I only got 1. Now I'm threatening the base race. I should win. Airlu comes home to defend, and now we're going to take an engagement out in water, which is just gold for my skunks, absolutely ripping through the health of those tier 1. And this is pretty much GG. Now I need to go home and sell down because I need to afford a farm, because now I'm starving. I go ahead and elect to just leave my skunks here. I didn't think anything could happen to my skunks while they were there. Meanwhile, you know, I'm selling down I didn't have to buy a new mill, enough to just buy a farm off of one of the ones he killed. But Erlu had some really good squirrel Michael here. Managed to actually kill both my skunks without them getting hardly any utility at all. So kind of a mistake on my end, choosing to leave them alone. But fortunately, Erlu's starving again. He's gonna have to sell, right, more of his squirrels. And if he sells any more warrants, he's gonna be left with nothing but 3 squirrels. And once I sell this, it'll be game. So pretty much, I'm trying to go for a desperate attack. Maybe kill off my tier 1, and then go home and buy the farm. That's kind of his only chance for success. Manages to kill my farm, starving again, so I would have had to sell down even more. But Erlu, not fast enough to get the farm down. We take a win with some extremely good Fox timing, mediocre, admittedly Fox micro, but the timing specifically was taking a look and noticing that we had a pretty strong distance away from our opponent, and we had a good candidate map for utilizing the Fox, because there are some maps where it won't make sense. Even if you have the time to build the Fox, you won't be able to have any utility. But because I felt that we were going to be able to threaten all of his expansions with the Fox, I went ahead and went for the Fox Rush. Alright. Now let's go ahead and move into how to use the Fox with some mines. We'll start with the simplest example. Here we're playing Mochaccino. Very strong player. Long-time member of the community. Playing TNT since I was in diapers. And here we go. So, taking a look at this map, we notice that it's a closer one, right? Less of a candidate for a Fox Rush, because our opponent should have time to just be able to walk down and murder us brutally in the time that it takes us to build the Fox. So, not an option this time. Go ahead and scout. Both of us electing to go 8 farm. Mochaccino, you'll notice he's taking a deck very similar to the meta, only electing to add Artie in lieu of some skunks. And I kind of sped through it, but during the opening sequence of this game, I was putting down some early mines. Like, so when Mochaccino would leave his base, pass me to go scout, I was putting down mines, because in the time he scouts and then burrows back to his mill, these will be built, and he won't know about them. And I can kind of go for some greedy expansion timing, in that I don't have to put down any tier 1 right away, because if he advances into me, he's just going to run into some mines. So the early mines, it's not critical that you do it right away, right? I could have done it during this scout, or I could do it during the next time he scouts. But you just want to be putting down mines during these scouting intervals, right? So you'll see it again. I can get away with this because it's built way before he gets back to that part of the map. So I go ahead and notice that he doesn't have much farms built, so I don't invest in farms too much myself. But I go ahead and get some ferrets, because I want to try to engage him and attack some of these pretty exposed pigs. Like, the pigs aren't well protected, right? There's no defenses in front of them, which is another thing I noticed. I didn't see defenses. They're not protected by high ground, and I also have a pretty straightforward line of sight. So my plan is I'm going to attack with ferrets and then retreat into the mines. So if he engages me, the mines will kill his tier 1, and I might even be able to take an early expand. So I actually forgot that that happened. Mochaccino put down some moles over here and managed to kill my mill. And so at this point, I elected to go for the fox pretty much as soon as I lost my expand, because I wasn't going to be able to match Mocha in economy anymore, right? He's killed my momentum. So I'm moving to go for an all-in fox attack. And so we are for sure going to be behind in economy now, but we're going to try to make up that ground by getting a lot of value once that fox pops. And in the meantime, I'm just going to try to make Mocha spend as much time as he can dealing with my ferret bombardments. Right, so as much as I can, I try to put down some forward mines so that if he presses too much into my kind of siege on his base, he's going to run into these mines. And so you'll see Mocha electing to go for some extremely high eco greed. And this is one of the things that many players will elect to do when faced with this situation. They just go greedy on the eco. And so we're behind by 6 farms. But it doesn't matter. Our fox is building. We're continuing to pressure them with the ferrets. Mochaccino doing a really good job to deny my ferrets some access by not only dodging the ferret shells for the most part, but also utilizing some forward falcons so that my ferrets can't approach too much. Fox is out now, and as soon as Mocha sees this, pretty much he knows that he's in an all-in situation. He kind of has to advance, because if he doesn't, I'm just going to poke slowly but surely and win out the game. And he's never going to be able to get a wolf or anything of that sort, because I'm going to be bleeding him his money. So he tries to go around where he suspects the mines to be, but it's just not enough. Like, his units are all out of position, slowly trickling in. The falcons that he had absolutely suffered against the fox. If you take a look at army value, I'm way ahead, way below in economy, but way ahead in army. Now, if he was able to build up his army, it could get dangerous, but by constantly poking with the ferrets, and now constantly poking persistently with the fox, you deny them the opportunity to get a really big swarm of units and maybe hunt us down across the map. So, doing my best here to keep my fox alive, but staying persistent. Even though I'm down to 5 health, I can still exert constant pressure. Mocha goes ahead and turns it in there. But that was some mine and fox play. Now let's go ahead and go to a more complicated usage of mines. Not particularly complicated, but certainly a little bit more difficult, because we now have a big map. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mills, as well as 2 campfires, and many points of entry, right? So you can come in from here, come in from there. So I suppose 2, but there's just a lot of ground to cover, right? Like, it's not like there's one chokehold that I can just put a bunch of mines in. Sure, I can put mines here and here, but that's not relevant, right? Like, that's not in front of his mills. So gonna have to be more selective. I like to go for a 4-farm rush on Airloop because of this exposed pig. because this pig doesn't have any neighbors, there's going to be less pigs that can exert DPS on my lizards, and I should be able, for a fact, this will go down. It's just a question of how much lizard will I lose. Now, if I only lose 3, I'm a happy camper. Looks like I elected to go home. But nope. Really just waited for my 6 lizards. Go in, get the kill, get out. So this time we lost 3, which is what I expected. Hard to say if we gained any value there. I actually think we didn't. We might be slightly behind. Let's see. Yeah, I would argue ever so slightly behind. But up by a lot. Alright. So, everyone made it out safely. Out of the opening. No consequence. Haley goes for the expand and goes for some early pressure. But the mines really help with his forward attack. Squirrel Mole being such a devastating combo because it can kind of attack in between the intervals when you're ready while you have stuff building. And so that could have been problematic, but those early preventative mines managed to help out. Heirloom and I going for expands. While Heirloom is away skyding, I'm just trying to get my mines ready while also staying even on him in farms. I'm actually getting some more farms in. He's going for a sneaky skunk. Probably wants to go for a skunk push, get the 2 skunks out and attack me. Now he's also aware that I have mines, so I'm sure he's gonna look for them. Kills 1, gets hit with the other. And here I go. I'm gonna go ahead and go for, I imagine, the fox at 3 minutes, 40 seconds. A little like 39, 38. And I even have the audacity to go for more eco, but I do have to sell that after I realize that he's coming in. And once again, the name of the game is hold for as long as we can. So I go ahead and put down more mines because we just want to survive until the fox. Heirloom, when you have a deck like Heirloom's right now, you don't feel the pressure to necessarily kill your opponent at any stage of the game because your deck performs very well at every stage of the game. So Heirloom incentivized to go full 8 farms, but will still attack me, right? Like, so if you look at his army value, he has more income than me and more army than me. But does he have enough army to go for the eco and kill me? That's what we're about to find out. The answer is no. We get a really good engage there. Better for us. Go ahead and lay down the mines again because our fox is going to get out soon and we're going to need to kite Heirloom's units with it. Because remember, Heirloom had better eco than us and now he's going to reap the benefit. So even though he took a worse engage, it's okay because he had the money. Still has it, right? Like, these units are not actually making money from yet. So it's very important that I'm able to kite his units into my mines. And I'm able to do that by forcing the issue, just constantly poking him. So our fox is out. Here we go. And just to give you an idea of what this looks like from our perspective. right? So staying just on the edge of my vision, enough that I can hit his units, but just barely. My skunk, or my fox took some damage, so I went ahead and put it in some water. And the mines will also give me vision, in the sense that I'll know if his units are moving across the map. He doesn't have time to discover my mines by standing over them. Need to be careful not to let my fox get hit by the snakes, but doing the best I can to poke. And so Araloo just staying right outside my vision so that when my commander is moving forward, it won't have time to retreat the fox. Because if I'm ahead of my fox trying to command it to move forward, I cannot command it to retreat until I've walked behind it. And so in that time is when he's trying to gun it down. So Araloo getting in on our mill. But our fox still healthy, commander goes down, and here we're pretty much able to clear house. Take out all his units that are advancing. And that's another nice thing about the foxes. A lot of times you can get a commander snipe. You can kill a commander and really reap the benefits of fighting against an uncontrolled army. So that's how I was able to use foxes in conjunctions with mines this week. What do we have left? We have the Bold Hold, Hardy Viable, and the Solution Araloo. Let's go ahead and go with another lesson on how to utilize Fox, but with different defenses. So this time we are playing Scav, aka Chase, and fellow co-caster, the last cast I did on the TNT Championship. Go ahead and check out my my Twitch channel, Miko_CD for that VOD, or you can see it in the VOD channel of the Tooth and Tail Championship Discord. But yeah, Scav's, you know, sporting another meta deck, choosing this time to substitute his wolf for a pigeon and chameleons for snake, but still a very healthy mid-game deck. So I think I had built a mole warren. Oh no, I don't have any moles, so I don't know what I was thinking. Well, regardless, both of us just elect to go ahead and go 8 farm. I don't have any moles, so it can be a little bit difficult to deal with attacks if I'm out of timing. But I like to go for the 8 farm Artie. Now I did this because our mills are far apart, and I kind of predicted that he was going to go for an early tier 2. Everyone goes for an early tier 2 when you have a lot of space. So predicting that he was going to go for the early tier 2, and he actually spent some time right trying to get that campfire. My Artie's going to get up, no problem, and it's in vision of both of my mills, because Arties have really far vision. I'm sorry, really far range. So I chose to go for this because I can protect both of my bases and eco up. So I'm not behind an eco. Scav going for some falcons. That's a sensible thing to do when you're faced with an Artie, because Arties cannot, artillery cannons cannot hit falcons. They can only hit ground units. So Scav opting to go for some eco, and Falcons, I see this, choosing to eco a little bit greedier than my opponent. So now we're in the 3-minute mark. I think we've looked at a couple replays where I've been placing foxes at somewhere in the 3-minute range. So we're gonna go ahead and put it down now. 3 minutes 15 seconds. I think that's almost exactly one of the timings we saw earlier. And now we just need a hold. So he's gonna be able to, you know, take out one of my warrens, but I'm able to take out his falcons. Falcons, while they do a lot of burst fire DPS, they don't have a lot of health. So if they're not supported by other units, they are a bit squishy. So they're already dealing with those units. Scav choosing to saying, you know, I don't want to deal with the arty, right? One of the things that arty does is it discourages you from attacking. So what are you going to do if you're not going to attack? Well, you can build some tier 3 or you can eco really heavy. My opponent opts to eco really heavy. They also don't have any tier 3. So while they, you know, they had a middle game suited deck, but we kind of killed the middle game. Not in terms of time, you know, it's only 4 minutes, but we killed like the initial and the secondary timings to push with tier 2 because the arty just really discourages it. So now you kind of have to go for a plan B. It's like you can't do what your deck is most optimally set to achieve. And also, if we look at where this arty is, it's not like you can walk straight in and go for it. You have to come at an angle, right? There's a little bit of terrain that's probably going to spread out your units. So he goes for the engage, but he already is really good at defending me. And you know, he takes out all my falcons, but I managed to take out enough of his units to deter the attack any further. So I hold. You know, we look at the army value. You know, I didn't take a huge win, but I did take a better exchange. And now my fox is going to pop. And our opponent, they're not ready for it. They have falcons and squirrels and a ton of economy. This is the last thing that they're prepared to deal for at the moment. So, fox comes in, and so it begins. The kiting tail that we've seen so many times in this video. Scav choosing to sell out of the falcons because they're so squishy against fox. They get one shot. So I'm feeling pretty good. Scav under a lot of pressure, managing to do a good amount of damage to my fox, but I can always just retreat back into my, and this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, this is the moment that someone's gonna try to kill your fox, because I had to walk onto the high ground to get vision to kill one of their units to be able to keep the pressure on. But now I have to run and retreat, so that's the time that people use to try to kill your foxes. Watch out for it, right? He's probably waiting, and see, sorry, he was waiting right here out of my vision. So as soon as I walked up there, ready to kill my fox. But just because your fox is at low health doesn't mean that you can't use it, right? I can still kite, stay out of range. Even when he gets damage on me, it'd only be 2 to 4 damage. So, you know, if you're kiting properly. So I've delayed it long enough. I managed to get all my falcons out. Now it's time to go for the engage. I need to make sure to avoid the skunk cast as best I can. We go ahead and do that. And Scavs those in the tap because there's just nothing left for him. So, some arty usage to discourage any middle game play by our opponent, which had a tier 2 centered deck, which is really that's what's popular right now. And it just proved to be very viable. So, coming up on our second to last game of the video, once again, sporting Artie and the fox against Airlu again. Now, a lot of the reasons you're seeing a lot of the similar names is because I'm specifically choosing replays from the last 2 weeks. And so some of the players that have been online have fortunately been some of the best in the game. Deep Sea and Airlu, in my opinion, the top 2 seeds of this year's TNT Championship. So, if there's anyone to test it on, these are the gentlemen. Going ahead and looking at the map this time, I was really happy. What I had noticed was all 3 of my mills I can protect with 1 Artie. So that's what I try to do. Now, Airlu, because he has Squirrel and Mole, I do have to be careful, because if he just buys 2 Squirrel Warrens and a Mole Warren and presses across the map, it can prove difficult to build an Artie. It's hard. So my strategy is I'm going to use forward warrens. Forward warrens can be very dangerous because moles, which are very popular at the moment, they do critical damage to structures. However, first of all, I scouted that I didn't see like just an abundance of tier 2 and mole, which makes me think that my opponent is going to go for tier 2. Sure enough, we're going to see that out of him in a moment, but I choose to use that time. Oh no, Airlu's just going straight into Squirrel. That's actually quite dangerous for me. But the bottom line is I didn't see those Squirrel Warrens already down, which made me think that I had enough time to get the Artie up, artillery cannon, because even though he went for a lot of tier 1 kind of deceptively, right? He was floating food, so I would think he would go for something else. He still has to get these units out. He has the Warrens, but he doesn't have the units. And now these forward Warrens are actually turned into my savior, because they're able to block a lot of oncoming damage. And yes, Airlu's trying to focus down my artillery cannon, but I managed to get it up in time. Again, thanks to forward Warrens. So this is one of those rare moments where forward Warrens are actually pivotal to the strategy that I was trying to employ. Oftentimes a liability, but in this game, a godsend. And now I have my artillery cannon up. So it's really going to discourage a lot of attacks out of Airlu. So Airlu, in response, chooses to go for an immediate boar. That's actually quite dangerous for me. Here comes my scout. Let's see what I uncover. We find the boar, and we find it already pretty built. So I'm not pleased with that. But I'm going to respond by getting my own fox down. Fox, a great unit to use for, and this is a good time to stop. Fox, a great way to deal with boar, because boars are so slow and you can absolutely snipe it down. But the really important thing to acknowledge at the moment is that my fox will not get out in time to deal with a boar rush. Like if the second his boar pops, he walks across the map, my fox is not in time. Even if it gets out, I don't have the utility. His units are already upon me. I need to be able to kite and use a fox over a larger amount of time, slowly bleeding his units, right? Bleeding his money into buying more tier 1. So I won't have time for that. So the way that I choose to get my fox out is by getting another Artie. Because now 2 Arties. Now that's a hefty amount of defense. And combined with this forward Warrens, you're not going to get to them right away. So this was my plan to get my fox out. And Airlu, playing really well. Had a very sneaky timing on the board. And kind of forcing me into going for the double Artie, which I really thought was a good idea. I was quite fond of that. And I pretty much know that I'm going to have to hold before my fox comes out. Like, he's going to at least try. So that's what I'm going for. But Erlu, he opted to just go for massive eco. He saw both of my arties. So he's like, you have 360 food in arties and a fox. I'm just going to 8 farm and have more money than you. And Erlu actually electing to even go for a 3rd mill. So make no mistake, we are once again significantly behind in money, in economy. Army value, we're ahead, but income, we will be behind once he starts putting money up on that mill. And we were behind for quite a while already. So my fox, it's now out. And I'm electing to continue to just play off of 2 base because my expansions are not particularly fun. But here it goes. Time to poke with the fox. Now all these pigeons, they're actually doing wonders, right? My fox isn't really able to do too much damage on the board, so I pivot, start going for his other units as best I can. But yeah, that fox is just kind of a tank right now. This is also really important. You'll notice I have not rallied my units. Now, one of the keys to playing this game is when you make engagements, you want to try to surround your opponent with your units as best you can. Concave formations are always going to be better than convex. Concave being, you know, kind of this. Convex was like they were all jumbled up. Or think of like a triangle, right? If this is the point and that's the way my units are formed, that is convex. But if I kind of have a bowl, that is concave. So that's what we're going for. So that if he ever chooses to push into me, I can rally all my units and kind of get a nice surround. The significance of the surround is all my units are getting out their DPS at the same time, whereas some of his units that are in the back, because they're all clumped, aren't necessarily playing all at once. So I'm electing to just go for a bunch of owls. At this point, right, my fox doesn't have utility yet because I can't hurt this boar. He has too many pigeons. But wait, there will be time. Right, able to contest these pigs. Get one, and I can also walk out through the back here, which is what I think I'm gonna elect to do right now. And go ahead and harass, and I can leave all my units at home. It's not a problem. I go ahead and start sniping. Airly use this moment to go in. Here comes the big engage. And now I rally my units. Everything's getting a wonderful surround against him. We'll take out my owl. But we get a beautiful engagement. Pretty much take out all his units instantly. And we get the win. And remember, he was incentivized to walk into our strong defensive setup because of our use of the fox sniping all of his farms. But by making sure that we never rallied our units, by never rallying the squirrels, we waited until we were able to get that beautiful concave formation and absolutely surround his army. So that was a bit of patient fox play. No, our fox, that wasn't the same as the last games where our fox was kiting. But it was the threat of the fox that incentivized Airly to push in and ultimately gave us a really good engagement and ultimately the win. All right. Let's round off our night with the bold hold. So this time, once again, playing Deep Sea Sasha. If you take a look at the map here, some things worth noting. Multiple avenues of entry, right? You can come in through this side. You can come in through that side. Pretty hilly map. What am I thinking here? I built a more warren, but I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you why. I think I wanted to walk in and pick a farm, but this is just terrible. Sell that, please, friend. Ah, yes, this was my idea. Okay, so one thing a lot of players will do is they will build a warren and not me doubting myself. They'll build a warren and then they won't have a squirrel there because they elected to queue their farms too early. So we got one out. Let's see if I'm able to kill this. I am. Got greedy and tried to kill the farm. I should have gone home. So I lose a little bit of value there. But I see. So that was the reason I did that. And we'll speed this up because this is a fox video. So let's get to it. All right. Deep seat. Posturing. Moving forward. Going for his skunks. And you notice a lot of people, like some of the best players in the world, they're choosing to go for a squirrel skunk really early on because it's just one of the strongest combinations at the moment. So, going for an attack, but you'll notice all of these machine guns dissuade me pretty quickly. Able to pick off a couple units there. But those skunks are out. I'm going home. And now we go for the fox at 3 minutes and 9 seconds. So this is when our fox timings are pretty much angled at. The 3 minute 10 second to like the 3 minute 40 second interval. It's pretty much when I think my opponents don't have enough army to walk across the map and just murder me, but are also put in a tough position where they have to choose to either go heavy on the eco, try to kill me right away, or try to go for their own tier 3, which will come out slightly after me. I'll be able to scout it and then just go from there with that kind of information. So, deep sea. Here comes the forward attack. It's important to note, at the time of this engagement, his army value, it's way up because I have a fox. But squirrel skunk is such a good defensive combination against the units that they have available at the 4 minute mark, which is typically squirrel and one set of tier 2 in this turn. And in this example, we have skunk. So here it comes. Microing my skunk, doing my best to keep it alive. It does go down, but it dealt with the bulk of Deep Sea's own squirrels. So I had to sell in this moment to sell down to pay for the fox. And Sasha goes ahead and puts down a forward. It's a good time to pause. Puts down a forward bolt hive. Bolt hives can be very dangerous against foxes, as can most defenses, because foxes can't hit them. So, if he manages to contain me right to this mill, I am boned. Like, this is not a good kind of deck for getting out of containment. I can try to do it with, you know, my squirrels and moles, but it won't be easy. So, with that in mind, as soon as he put down this bolt hive, alarm bells already ringing in my head. I know he's going to try to contain me, and so he's going to try to get my exit position. I scout it, and I immediately deny it, right? Because if he's able to fully contain me, I'm in a lot of trouble. So I recognize that, and so now my priority is to protect my exit. So let's go ahead and use my perspective. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just focused on denying him this this forward bullet hive, because if he gets it, I'm in a lot of pain. We managed to defend it. My fox is now out in 5 minutes. Doing my best to keep my skunks alive. One goes down. But I can now walk around his defenses. And this is one of the ways that you're able to deal with people who set up defensive structures against you, is just walk around it. And with my fox, I can absolutely walk around it. He has way too much money tied up in these forward bullet hives now. And we're able to just wreak havoc on his units, and he doesn't have the utility to just march down and gun down my mill. So we're able to just pick off his tier 1, and that's all that he has. So there you go, folks. Hopefully this proves helpful for anyone trying to get into Fox, or maybe improve or just take a look at how people handle Fox in different sim situations. I think we took a couple different decks. Here we took the original Contain deck that we showed in the last video and showed how to get the Fox out in conjunction with that deck. We showed how to use Fox timings in conjunction with mines. We showed how to use Fox timings in conjunctions with with artillery cannons. And then lastly, we looked at how to hold with Squirrel Skunk while you get a Fox out. So keep in mind, you want to get your Foxes down around the 3-minute mark, ideally between 3:10 and 3:40. You want to try to defend with Squirrel Skunk to the best of your ability. If you're going to go for a super early rush like I did earlier in the second game, where I went just 8 farm Fox, you're not necessarily going to have time for the Skunks. I only had time for my, I actually went 7 farm Fox. I only had time to get down my Squirrels. But that proved enough to survive until the Fox. And then we went ahead and looked at how to micro the Fox. You got to make sure that you're keeping your opponent at the very edge of your range so you have enough time to retreat. Only take 1 shot and then go and retreat your Fox again, so you're constantly kiting. Try to span it over a long period of time, right? Delay engagements if you can until you bleed them out a little bit to give yourself a more favorable large engagement. And always do yourself a favor and try to set up ways that'll make kiting someone easier. So if it's defenses, right, set up some mines, constantly replenish them. If it's more stationary defenses, make sure that you can retreat into them and return. And try to deny factors that'll make it really hard for a Fox to thrive, like defenses. So in the last game, we saw that those MGs could have been really problematic. So make sure that you deny enough MGs to get your Fox out in the opening so you can just walk around defensive barriers and kind of just mow down the rest of your opponent's army. So those are all the replays I have for you today, folks. Go forth, take these into your own games, and become Fox masters yourself. See you in the next one.